So this is our Miami Hurricanes live edition for a 67th time. It's MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. It's Dave Knight. How are you doing?
Hey, Dave. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm getting fat from staying at home for 3 months in a row.
Well, there's things you can do about that. You can go out and take a walk.
I'm a gym guy, but yeah, I know. I'm making an excuse. Hey, Notre Dame fan here, you OSU fan here, but something I noticed about Miami is like their offensive line, which I see on the feed to the right, is kind of heavily discussed. Do they recruit predominantly within the state of Florida, or do they look outside to get offensive linemen, from other areas of the country?
So to answer that question accurately, I would have to comb through their recruiting classes, but this is how I understand it from having discussions here every week on Miami football, is that despite the just tremendous volume of high-end talent in the county surrounding Coral Gables, that offensive line play would not be the strength. That's probably the one place where Miami has to go outside of its area to find better players. So the combination of not having that level of talent at the offensive line position, similar to running back, defensive back on down the line, has been difficult for Miami to go outside of the area and find quality offensive linemen to bring to Miami. And then the player development at the position has been non-existent.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to field a good football team with no offensive line or defensive line.
Yeah, they are pretty well stacked at defensive line right now. They have been in recent years, but the offensive line has been atrocious.
Yeah, and you can have like a really good array of skill players.
Yeah, we all remember the names of the running backs and the wide receivers and like to see those guys play, and that's the excitement of the game. But I would argue that the offensive line is the most important unit on the field.
Myself as well.
And it's the unit that has to play together the most. You've got, the safeties need to know what each other is doing, and the secondary against these 3, 4, and 5 wide receiver sets have to be in coordination with each other. The linebackers have to play together, and the defensive line to a certain extent. They have stunts. They have to trust each other and know the other person's assignment to a degree, but nowhere compared to the offensive line. The chemistry and the cohesiveness up front is unmatched anywhere else on either side of the ball.
Yeah, and if you think about it, Mark, within and if just one offensive lineman doesn't, execute the scheme that he's supposed to, then all of a sudden, your play can get blown up, or somebody doesn't execute on a, check down on an audible, then that same situation can occur, and it can happen play after play after play, and then you're doomed.
Yeah, and so that's it. And if you've got a porous offensive line, you can do some of the things that Miami is attempting to do starting this season, and that's get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly and try to negate, to a certain extent, your weakness up front. But you can only do that to a certain degree, and then you're making yourself very predictable. And you're relying – what we've seen with Miami is that they've been really bad on third down conversions. Like bottom 5 in college football over the last at least 3 years, and they've been really bad in the red zone. So they've relied on big plays, and that also is emblematic of how bad the offensive line is. They've got the playmakers that obviously the offensive line isn't going to have a poor performance every play. So when they have a good performance on a particular play, if everything else lines up, then Miami's going to hit you with a big play because they've got the talent elsewhere to do that. And that's what they've relied on. But it's difficult to sustain drives with poor offensive line play.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, we always, like, I would say you could even include UCF in this, but that talk among Florida State, Miami, always extremely athletic, skilled players on the outside, but even Florida State, I thought, had run into some problems with their offensive line not being so great.
It could be argued that Florida State's offensive line the last few years has been worse than Miami's.
Yeah, so there you go, right?
They've both been extremely poor. During the Willie Taggart almost 2 seasons, what was difficult to break down is that the offense in general was so bad and so poorly orchestrated. I don't know how much Florida State football you watch, but they would be 10 or 11 games into the season and couldn't line up correctly, constantly had clock issues with not being able to get the playoff, just ordinary issues that you see in week 1 lingering for 10, 11, 12 games. And so that was the entire offense, not just the offensive line with them.
Yeah, hard to do business that way.
Definitely.